Notion of innovation as a kind of what I call a large-scale issue, namely innovation in society and how it informs the competitiveness of not just enterprises, but nations, regions, cities, and ultimately the global system, is something that I've been pursuing with obsessive attention over the last especially few years. It's therefore an especial honor to be able to come and share this time with you, because we're here to celebrate the life of an extraordinarily complete innovator. And the purpose of this panel is really to say, yes, this is an extraordinary story. Now, so what for us? You know, what can we learn? Anyone who's had an intuitive flash, you know, sort of an aha moment, where something that seemed like a jumble of facts suddenly became a pattern. Edison was a discoverer. He had eureka moments, but he was also an inventor. But he was also an innovator in the sense that one light bulb may be an invention, but millions and millions or billions and billions are innovations. And so the whole notion of having the intuitive skills, the analytical skills, the detail skills, the management skills, the consumer-facing skills, the industrialization skills, as well as the popular sort of men and women in white coats saying eureka skills, is I think what makes him a complete innovator, but also challenges us to kind of extract the value for us in the present day. At this point, to offer a few challenges to the panel, the first being an on-the-nose question, which is, what are, in fact, from your perspectives, your diverse perspectives, the most important lesson that Edison has for us today?
I'm not sure if there's a single lesson, but I think one of the most important lessons that Edison offers is actually something that came up in the last panel, which is persistence and the notion that, in fact, failure is crucial to success. That learning and rapid learning of the problems that you're facing and how to overcome them is crucial, and not to see failure as something that's bad, but in fact something that's essential to the whole process at every stage along the line, actually, not just the invention stage, but actually the innovation stage too. One of the things that Edison did was, when he brought his products to market, that was another area in which continued innovation had to happen. And so it wasn't that he came to market with a finished product, but in fact the product evolved over time as he tried to bring it into the marketplace. And so there were continual failures and reiterations of what he was doing in order to make it successful.
Coming from the entertainment side of things, from Science Channel and Discovery Channel, and I think what he represents is one of the mainstream rock stars of science, that people were excited by his work. He was a good science communicator. He could express his trials and errors, his discovery, in a way that kind of captures the public's imagination. And I think we've gone through a period of time where we've lost the magic, and we've lost that public's fascination with innovation and the imagination that science and technology can bring to the table. And it's finding that great science communicators that are out there, and I really believe it's got to be something that's taught in the schools on up through businesses, and people have to be really great at being able to communicate that passion, and we love to tell stories of what you were saying, failure and trial and just hard work and sweat and the emotion that leads to that aha, and then bringing it back and making it relevant to people's everyday lives.
You know, my background, I'm with Avaya, right? It's a business communications firm, and while it's a relatively new firm, it has a heritage with AT&T that stems back 100 years, right? We have the Bell Labs group still alive and well within our organization, 3,000 engineers in our organization, right? So I think the lesson that we're taking away is we're a communications firm that's in the middle of a communications revolution. Think about the channels that every day people are using today and how varied they are. You know, for us, what Edison represents is fail often, fail fast, keep trying, right? Keep coming up with new combinations and just, you know, innovate from there. I mean, that's what he means to us.
Sarah.
One of the things I think is so important is to actually, as individuals, look at our own mindsets and say, do I have the mindset of an innovator? Or do I have the mindset maybe of a planner? Edison really brought together creativity and risk-taking with the mind of a scientist, with the mind of a discoverer and an explorer. So Deborah talked about losing the magic. I think that this is right, because in the discovery, in the failing, as Paul mentioned, that's the risk-taking part. That's the forward-leaning part where you're endeavoring and you're trying. So the mindset that we each have is where we begin. So we can actually look at our daily lives, at our work lives, and say, gee, where am I urged to be creative? Where am I being creative? Where am I urged to take risks? Where am I taking risks? So these are not conversations that we often have with our bosses. And you know, we have our annual objectives and all these things. So, but Edison was always urging his people to connect those two things together, creativity and risk-taking. That's how those discoveries took place. So there's so much that we need to bring forward. Again, as Deborah said, we need to make it interesting. We need to make it sexy. Paul said we've got to have this be part of what we're looking at all the time. So I think Edison really offers us that.
Blaine McCormick, I come out of education, and if I had to put my finger on one thing that Edison did that set him apart, it would be the deeply ingrained practice of what I call everyday creativity. In comparison, we're all stuck in a rut. This guy, every day was a different day in many ways. He took a lot of paths. He had deeply ingrained habits of creativity, from walking home in the evening through nature, which he found very inspirational, to trying the next iteration today.
The prior panel, someone was talking about these sort of three elements of curiosity, empathy, and leadership. And I'd like to combine two of those, the curiosity and the empathy part, into another aspect I think I understand of Edison, and that is his sense of optimism. That he looked out into the world and didn't always see the problems that needed to be solved as much as the opportunities that maybe needed to be seized in terms of the human spirit and human aspirations. And I think, you know, if we all look around at this kind of crazy world we live in, where, you know, social networking has sort of taken over our lives, what we've realized is it's not really about the technology, but the fact that people actually enjoy talking to people and interacting. And so I think he had this wonderful sense of optimism that there were things that weren't necessarily just solving problems, but were actually seizing opportunities and sort of taking it to a new level, making life richer and somehow more rewarding for everyone.